All right. Well, I'm really happy to be speaking with everybody this evening. My name is Jamie Gooden. That's what I look like down there with my dog Desmond. Um, Today I'm representing Shenandoah Small Business Solutions. It's a new company, and we pretty much focus on a lot of the issues that small businesses face that are kind of the stressful pain points and things that the folks who start the business aren't necessarily excited about doing. They're not the main reasons they're involved with the business. So we try to take marketing, some administrative assistance, grant writing, some management consulting, that kind of stuff, web development off your plate so that you can focus on what you do best. So tonight we're going to be talking about brand storytelling. We're going to learn what that is, and ultimately this will be a guide for your content development strategy. Some of those words may be just buzzwords in your mind, but we'll be going over those this evening. This should be a short presentation, but I would really encourage y'all to pop in, raise your hand, interrupt me whenever you have a question. I think that's how you'll get the most out of this. So here we go. So what is content marketing? This is my definition. Content marketing is authentic storytelling that engages the senses, tell the story of your brand, product, or service without always directly selling. We're seeing a lot of this today on Facebook and Instagram, amid a myriad of other platforms. It's not a new concept at all. It is just sharing your brand with your customers. And it's not necessarily, hey, buy this today. It's shining light on what's happening behind the scenes, perhaps. In essence, it's the photos, videos, captions, articles, and other content that you're sharing on your website, via email newsletters, of course on social media, and even in store. These are just telling your stories. So imagine going to a restaurant and you see somewhere framed on the wall the very first dollar they earned. That would be a great example of non-sales related content marketing. It would also be pictures of entrepreneurs, families, or what they're interested in, or all kinds of other things beyond just the selling. Although the selling itself is certainly fine as well. I'm just going to run through a few stats, kind of give a little bit more context. These are some really relatively up-to-date stats. See, 70% of marketers are actively investing in content marketing. 78% have a little team to work on it, which is a lot. We're not going to be creating teams today. It's just going to be how you can do it yourself. 24% are spending even more on content marketing this year. 40% say it is a very important part to their overall marketing strategy. It is the most searched query related to content marketing. 77% of companies say they have a content marketing strategy, which is great. And 94% of these marketers are using social media to push that content out. So in sum, it is important. I'm not going to linger any longer on these numbers because they're just big macro numbers, and often they're not particularly relevant to your business. But just for your knowledge, this is what I'm talking about. So when I think of content marketing, I think of a few goals. Based on my experience working in this industry, doing content marketing for a number of clients, including Washington and Lee, for the last 8 years. First and foremost, it must be authentic. What does authentic mean? It's true, it's personal, it is real. It is storytelling. It tells the narrative of your brand. Narrative, it's a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and end. It has characters. It has plot. That's what we hope to convey to your audience. It's sensory. You can see it. You can hear it. You can feel it. There are certain weird situations, I suppose, that you could smell it. But generally on the internet, we're going to see it. We're going to hear it. And hopefully we'll feel it emotionally in some way. It is comprehensive. It is telling all parts of your story. It's not just about which new product you have every single day. It's telling some of the other things that we'll get into. It is consistent. Um, the secret ingredient to a successful digital presence is consistency. That means you're posting and updating regularly. You are updating your website SEO regularly. You're staying in touch with people with email. The consistency is the number one way I have found to gain true, authentic followers that really care about your brand. You just have to hammer at it every week, several times a week, and that will be the best way to achieve what you're looking for. It will be low cost. This is something that you yourself can do. 95% of people will be able to do this. And most importantly, for small business owners, is low time. This will be highly achievable with just limited time and resources. Everyone loves Facebook videos, photos, etc., but not everyone has the time to do it. And today we're going to talk about some tips I have found to help you reduce that time spent. So let's start at the basics. What is your story? So a story can be a number of things. We're going to go through a few of them. One of them could just be the history of your business. How did your business get started? What inspired you to enter the market? When did it get started? Who was involved in those early days? People are interested in those stories. Your story needs to be emotional. How does working on your business make you feel as the business owner? You know, it could be pride, it could be hard work, determination, accomplishment. And just as importantly, how does your business make your customers feel? What would you like them to feel? What are they actually feeling? Is there any disconnect in between the two? Your story can help bring them into alignment. A big part of your story is who are your staff. It could be the founders, the owners, the operators, and all the other folks that are part of your business that make it run successfully. I mean, it could even be your support system, your family that is supporting you as you're going down this journey. Like, who are the people involved? Obviously, there's a product or service. What are you selling? What are the different variations of it? What are the updates? Why should we care? What types of pain points will your products or services alleviate for your customers? All of that is a key part of your story. And that's the one we hear the most. It's very tied to your bottom line. But with this brand storytelling, we want to supplement the product and service with all the other great things that make your business what it is. And there's the process. What is unique about how you create and deliver your products or services? So this could be if you're a farm-to-table restaurant, who are the farmers? How do you choose the chickens? How does that process work? How do you source your products and services, etc.? Who are your customers? I mean, we're engaging with these folks on a daily basis. Who are they? Why are they in your store or shopping with you or working with you today? What is their story? That kind of customer to customer feedback is crucial for brand trust. It's kind of how Amazon became what it is. It's the rating system, the reviews. Same with Yelp and Google and all that stuff. How can you take what your customers are saying and use it to your advantage? Community. You know, we do not live on an island. Is there a special thing or two about your business that relates to your community? Do you sponsor events? Are you, as a citizen volunteer, volunteering your time? Where does your business stand within the greater community? And finally, there's that special sauce. What is totally unique about your business, your team, your product, or your services that no one else knows about, that only you know about? And how can you tell me? These are the, looks like 8 different elements that I would say constitute your brand story. Probably a few others out there, but these are ones that I've seen that are common and amongst the small businesses in our area, and ones that folks are generally able to think about quite easily. So here's an example of a hypothetical business. Your Perfect Song. Your Perfect Song is a traveling gift store dedicated to helping customers commemorate the special moments in their lives with gifts of love. The business began in 1968 when its founders, a musician named Desmond and a ceramic artist named Molly, teamed up to sell handmade gifts at their local farmers market. As the story goes, Desmond one day decided to take a trolley to the local jeweler store to buy Molly a 20-carat gold engagement ring. He then surprised Molly at the market with his proposal, and they decided to devote their lives to helping others remember their moments of love. Since then, Desmond and Molly's children have joined the business, and they've been spreading love and music to customers all around the country. If there are any Beatles fans out there, this is my take on the song Obla Di Obla Da off of the White Album. So if we apply, I'm glad you like that. If we take that story, which is a small glimpse of their business, and run it through the ringer of the stuff we just talked about. And the point here is every business has a history, the emotions, the staff, the product, the process, the customers, etc. So here, for the Perfect Song, the history, there's the anniversary of the engagement itself, and they've been in operation since 1968. So there's a plethora of memories that they can allude to. Maybe they have photographs, maybe they don't, from throughout the decades. Here, their explicit mission is to inspire love with folks. Then there's the whole musicianship, and there's the sharing of that love through the gift giving. That's the emotional connection there. The staff, Desmond's a musician, Molly's a ceramics artist, and they've got plenty of kids now too. Who are those folks? What type of music does Desmond play or listen to? What's Molly's process for crafting her ceramics? Those all give you more color into the real people behind this business. And folks can really relate to a lot of that stuff. A lot of this is about creating relatability with your audience. The product or service, that's the easy one. Gifts, ornaments, ceramics, etc. The process, as we mentioned, they're artisan, they're handmade, and they have a lively musical selling experience. Their customers, they have decades of customer interactions around the country at farmers markets and traveling about. Who are those folks? Their testimonials and customer stories are a fantastic piece of content. And I really encourage y'all to try to work with your customers and just ask, say, hey, I'm really glad I'm able to make you so happy today. Would you mind if I shared this story with my audience? And most folks will probably say yes. You can get a little picture of them smiling and maybe a little quote. And what they had to say will speak volumes more than anything you could ever say. Cannot overemphasize the customer testimonials enough. Then there's the community, traveling about from community to various locations. I'm sure within those places, they've been able to make friends and neighbors. Who are those friends and neighbors? If you're a downtown business and your next door neighbor is celebrating their 10th or 15th year in business, celebrate with them. Tell their story, that will still connect you with your audience. And there's that special sauce. I mean, this is literally a love story. So I implore you to think, what of these 8 things, what is your story? So once you thought about that, take a weekend, take some time, be inspired. Then here's the real crux of it, creating a system for telling your story. This is a step-by-step process that I've been employing for many years now, and it just works. It makes the storytelling process so much less stressful and so much more streamlined for folks that employ it. Generally, when you're thinking about posting a website update or an email blast or a social media post, a lot of folks think to themselves, oh, I need to do this today. What should I do? And that amount of creative pressure on your mind amid all the other things you have to worry about in your operation dramatically decreases the likelihood that you'll be able to post something. So this process helps you take those small decisions out, which will allow you to be creatively free and have your mind open to be able to focus on your operations. So step 1 will be determining what I call content buckets. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Step 2 is you need to figure out how much content you'll be able to create. And spoiler alert, it doesn't have to be that much. I promise you that. Determine which platforms you'll be using to publish. This is a question that is a little bit more complicated because it's largely a question of who your audience is and which platforms you're comfortable on. There needs to be that secret sweet spot where your audience is where you are comfortable, because you don't want to go out on a limb and be on TikTok doing who knows what and not really getting the picture. And finally, we're going to create a calendar. That'll be something you'll be able to reference, share with your staff, etc. That'll make all of this a lot more predictable and easy. Okay, so content buckets. What is that? So a content bucket is my term for categories for your brand story, which we've already discussed. There's the history, the product, the staff, the community, etc. So again, all those things that we discussed before, those are content buckets. There are also categories of content from which you can draw indefinitely. So for example, with your products, you're never going to run out of products to showcase. You're never going to run out of fun facts about your staff. You're never going to run out of ways that you can engage with your community or ways or parts of your history. Now, what's an example of something that is not indefinite would be 4th of July parade photos. 4th of July only comes around once a year. You're not going to get that much mileage from that. But if you could zoom out and say holidays, that's a little bit more. You have a couple handfuls there. But even so, you want something that you can easily go back to the well. And they're accessible. They're easy for you to access when you need to create that content. They're not things where you have to email 5 or 6 different people to get a maybe. These are things that you'll be able to easily create because you already know them, or they're in your shop just a few steps away. In terms of the content buckets, I would recommend shooting for 4. We discussed 8 earlier. If you want to do all 8, great, go crazy. But I think 4 would be just fine. And there are other ways to categorize those buckets, but 4 is my secret number, and we'll learn more about that later. And you want to focus on the attributes that will be easy to access and document. And by that, I mean what things could easily pair with a photo or video. And as I said before, you want to watch out for those buckets that are just too limited. Does that make sense? Any questions there? Great.
No, it's great. Thank you. Very helpful.
Awesome. And once we put it all together, you'll understand a little bit more about what a content bucket really is. So the second step is determine how much content you'll actually be able to create. Ultimately, with this system, which we're going to get into, if you set aside maybe an hour per month, you can do the math, figure out how many minutes that would be per day. Not very many. That's all this system really requires of you. An hour per month, and you'll be able to get all the content in a strategic way you'll need for that month's social media posts. Once you get into the rhythm, I really stand by this. An hour tops. What I do with some of my clients, the people I work with, is really just 10 minutes on a Monday, and I know exactly what the rest of the week is going to look like. Small amount of time, but you must set it aside and dedicate it for this purpose. Smartphone and photo and video is fantastic. Most of us have phones that are just fine. If not, perhaps one of our employees will. You don't need to worry about the equipment of expensive, complicated cameras or anything like that. A smartphone is just fine. 99% of the content I create, 99.9%, is all on my smartphone, which is an iPhone 10, which is, I think, 2 or 3 generations old at this point. And it's still cranking out 4K video and high quality photos. There are a number of places online where you can go to learn more about taking and photos and videos and composition. In fact, I believe one of our seminars later this month will be about that. So you can also write captions within this time period, or you can write them later. That's fine. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So when you think about this, it may be difficult at first to go about finding these images. Now keep in mind, you already have your brand attributes, so you have your content buckets. So you have the history. So if one is about you and your partner, you got pictures there. Maybe you have an old picture of your first day. Maybe you just have, in terms of community, you have a picture of you or someone that's your staff volunteering at an event. You can take so many product photos. You should never run out of those. But just the mere fact of having the content buckets immediately makes the photo and video a lot easier because you have targets in your mind to shoot for. I found a lot of folks just leaving that open-ended question, take a photo or video, that is not the zone people are in most of the time. Normally they're in operation mode, not creativity mode. So using those content buckets will point you in the right direction and begin to operationalize the creativity itself. Here's some examples though. Employee Q&As. You want to focus on your staff. You could ask each of your employees any of these types of questions. What do you love most about Rockbridge? What's your favorite customer interaction? What's your favorite product? What's the most rewarding part about working here? So imagine you have 3 employees, yourself and maybe 2 others. Some can be part-time, they can be part-time, doesn't matter. If each of all 3 of you answer all 4 of those questions, and you can have them submit a picture to you with each one, then all of a sudden, there you go. You have 12 pieces of content, which should last a pretty decent amount of time. And we'll talk about that later. Employee creative content. If you have creative employees, you have young part-time folks that just are always on Instagram, empower them to start taking photos. They could be the ones that when you are engaging with a customer, they're taking photos in the background. Obviously, you want to get the customer's permission. They could be the ones that are, because they spend so much time already on Instagram, kind of have a sense for what does well on Instagram, and they'll be able to take those photos. You could ask your employees, I'm sure they have downtime, hey, I need 10 product photos by the end of the week. Or, hey, I need 10 awesome photos of businesses in the community that we really support, or nonprofits we really support. They can get online, they can find those photos, and there you go. You have 20 pieces of content right there. So already, just in these 2 things, we're talking about close to 50 pieces of content that could legitimately be created in a couple of hours. Then there's user-generated content. This one's a little bit more nuanced and complicated, but as we all know, social media is all about engagement. So you can ask your customers to DM or direct message you content of their own on Instagram or Twitter. Sometimes if you ask them to use a hashtag, they'll use that hashtag. What I have found is a lot of folks love the direct message, the DM. So if you're having, so one promotion I'm running right now for one of my brands is we're trying to crowdsource spooky stories from around Rockbridge from the student community at WNL. So we made some graphics on Canva, which is super easy. And we were asking them to send us their ghost stories. And once they direct message them to us, we just fancy them up a little bit and then we publish them. Great content, and because your users have such a more diverse suite of experiences than you have, so you'll be able to get a whole bunch of interesting stuff. So these are just 3 little ideas that could be systematized. Another way to systematize it is Tuesday's your content day. Every Tuesday, you're going to take 5 photos of your staff or of the outside of your building, of downtown, of your products. And there you go. If you have 5 photos every Tuesday, you will be set indefinitely. So next is determining which platforms you'll be using to publish. First and foremost, let your audience be your guide. Every business is different. Every service is different. Some B2B folks, business to business folks are likely living in a different world than B2C, business to consumer. But at the end of the day, I think for the vast majority of folks in downtown Lexington and Rockbridge, Facebook and Instagram are going to be your money makers. And the good news is they are incredibly easy. You're probably already used to using them, and they are owned by the same company, so they work together very well. So if I had to choose two, it would be Facebook and Instagram. If you only have a Facebook, I would recommend adding an Instagram. It is not much more work at all. At all. It's maybe an extra 10 minutes a week, tops. You have Twitter, great. That won't be much work either. The beauty about this system is adding another platform does not add much extra time to your workload at all. But if you happen to have Facebook, Instagram, and or Twitter, you're not going to want to do automatic posting. And I'll explain that later. And what automatic posting is when you post on Facebook, it automatically posts on Instagram as well. We don't want to do that. We want to post them at two different occasions, which I'll talk about in a second. So step
Amy, I
four.
have a question about the different platforms.
Yes.
Is it better to change up the content depending on, like, does Facebook want specific content and Instagram want specific content and Twitter? Obviously, efficiency wise, it would be better to just put everything, but do you want to cater it to the different platforms?
Yeah, great question. There is a slight amount of catering, but the given assumption is every single thing you would post on any platform has a photo and video as well. Twitter, you can get away with just a tweet or a retweet, but anything on Facebook and Instagram is not just going to be words. It's going to be a photo or video. So in that sense, it would be the same for Facebook and Instagram, the photo or video and your caption. Now then beyond that, Instagram obviously has a lot more hashtags. Also on Facebook and Instagram, if you're going to tag any other pages or businesses or users, the mechanics for that are slightly different. So there are small differences like that. But generally speaking, with this system, you take the same caption and the same piece of content and post it on both, but at different times, which we'll learn about. You could get more specific. I mean, Instagram stories, for example, which I think are fantastic. We're not going to talk too much about those today because I wanted to just talk about the basics. Instagram stories are considerably different. You have so many other engagement features, like polls and GIFs and stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay, create a calendar. So I will be able to share this template with y'all. You won't have to create it from scratch. It is ugly, I know. I like this kind of thing. But this is what I use for posting for all of the both pages I manage and post for. Now you'll notice we're going to dig deep into it, but it's not actually that complicated. So first and foremost, you look at the date and day of the week columns. This is just a great tool for knowing when you're going to post. If you know in advance what's going to happen on Friday, October 30th, that's a lot less stressful than getting into work on Friday and realizing, oh no, I should post something. I'm all about reducing that stress by minimizing small decisions. And this spreadsheet it takes all the small decisions, it just sucks them right out of your brain so you won't have to worry about them. Other things you'll notice is we are not worrying about posting every day. Quality over quantity, 100%. So you'll see we're posting on the week of the 19th on a Monday and a Tuesday, and a Thursday and a Friday. That's it. You could post more if you wanted to, but I think 4 times a week is a doable amount, especially because we're only using 2 pieces of content. I'll talk about in a second. If you look at the content file column, you'll notice on Monday and Tuesday, the 19th and 20th, it is the same exact content, just on different platforms. You see Facebook and Instagram in the very right. So ultimately, for any 1 week, we're only going to need 2 pieces of content. So if we go back earlier and we think about all the content we could create, if we can make 10 pieces of content, that'll last us 5 weeks with this system. So we'll get to that in a second. First and foremost, I just love having the dates there. You could integrate stuff like Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday, etc. into this system, and then because you'll always know it's coming. So, for example, Thursday and Friday could be a great day for history stuff because those are Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday. So the date's pretty easy. And the second one, the third column, you have the content buckets. We discussed 4 example ones earlier: history, product, staff, community. And you'll notice that history is Monday, the first Monday and Tuesday. And I switched to product for that first Thursday and Friday, and staff and community for the following week. But then on the 2nd of November, 2 weeks later, we're cycling back to history. That is great because you're going to be reiterating your brand message, your brand story. So if your history is a big part of your brand, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe it's emotion, then you're going to be reiterating that over and over again. There are some old advertising adages that suggest that for any idea to stick with the customer, they need to see it 6, 7, 8 times. So this repetitive nature of cycling through your staff, community, product, history, don't worry. Your customer does not think it's repetitive. You may because you're actually doing it. These are just great little reminders for them. So that's why I said earlier that 4 brand attributes would be a great way to start, because then you'll be able to cycle through them every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. Does that make sense? How we're cycling back through the content buckets?
Yes, great sense.
Great. So for someone like Main Street Lexington, it could be economic. It's your committees. There could be an economic development post. There can be promotions and marketing. There can be design, and then the 4th one could be volunteerism or fundraising. And you just cycle through them. Okay, so that makes it easy. So now you know that whenever you're in content mode, if you get 4 history pieces of content, that will last you for the next 2 months. Same with product and staff. Okay, so moving on, notes for the publisher. I think this is a useful column if you're working with a team, or if you're working by yourself. It's great to just have a little note to go along with that post for that day in advance. So it could be reminders to use the hashtag. It could be a little note that says the customer or the staff member would like to get credit for their Instagram photo, so you should tag their handle. All little notes like that are just useful. Tip 4, column 4, is the content file. So this is the actual piece of media you've created with your phone. You need to find a place to store your content once you capture it. Maybe it's a group text, maybe it's Google Drive, maybe it's in Canva, maybe it's email, etc. But there needs to be some place, because once you go through all this work of getting the content, you don't want to be able to struggle to find it. I also recommend you use descriptive file names. So you see for that first one on 10/19, we're going to talk about history on that day. And the video I titled How We Got Started. Thursday the 22nd, necklace number 1. Monday the 26th, Desmond's favorite hike, etc. And you'll notice that these are doubled up, Monday to Tuesday. I'll get to that in a second. Moving on to the caption. You can write the caption in advance if you want to. I find, for my personal creativity style, I usually wait until the moment I'm going to post to write the caption, especially because maybe something's going on in the world. Like there's a national tragedy, or you forget that it's National Donut Day or whatever. There is a little bit of something to be said for maintaining the flexibility of writing the caption right when you post. If you write your captions in advance or as you post, I would recommend copying them back into this spreadsheet so you can start to catch yourself using the same words too often or not. It's just good to have that log. And finally, and this is key to making this a doable process, is you'll notice that we're posting the same post twice. So if you look at that first Monday and Tuesday, the 19th and the 20th, same content bucket, same publisher note, same file, same caption. The only difference is on Monday we're doing Facebook and Tuesday we're doing Instagram. This is effective because your Facebook and Instagram audiences are different. Also, because of the way Facebook and Instagram work, especially Facebook, your audience is not guaranteed to see your post anyway. So even if you have the same follower on Facebook and Instagram, there's a decent chance that that person missed it on Facebook somehow, but then maybe they'll see it on Instagram. And we did the same thing on Thursday and Friday, the 22nd and 23rd. Same content, except we posted on Instagram and then Facebook. And then you'll notice, moving on to the next Monday, we're doing the same process again: Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And what that does is it increases the chance that the folks who are your followers will see your post somewhere, but it also gives you a legitimate way to take the same piece of content and give it twice the life span. That's crucial. It breaks my heart when I see someone get a great piece of content and post it on the same platform on one day. It's taking all that energy and just spitting it out a little bit too quickly. You can do a slower burn with this stuff. You can also add email into this rotation. So maybe on Wednesdays when you send an email or something like that, or website updates, there are other ways to play around with this. But I imagine you get the picture. The main thing is it is okay to post the same piece of content on two different platforms on different days. Does that make sense?
Jamie, is there a time of day that's best to post, especially if you're scheduling your posts?
So if you look into your insights on Facebook or Instagram, it should tell you something along the best time of day. Generally, though, I try to post everything always before noon for a number of reasons. One is before the day gets away from me, and when I know I have dedicated computer time, I'm just going to do it. Another is on Facebook especially, the more likes and engagement you get right when you post it, the more likely it will continue to be seen. So I kind of view it as a snowball that you want to put at the top of the mountain and push down. So then by the afternoon, it will have gotten enough likes and stuff to be seen more often. That's just a rule of thumb. It does technically vary depending on whichever your personal account is. But I generally shoot for before 12. Okay, I'm going to move forward. So this spreadsheet accomplishes everything that we talked about back with our goals. It's authentic because it is you telling your story. It's storytelling because you're drawing strictly from your brand attributes. Although one thing I would note is this spreadsheet, this is just the baseline. If you can do this, great. I hope you'll find that it will dramatically decrease the amount of stress, because you could theoretically get ahead for a whole 2 weeks with just an hour every 1 week, But then that gives you the freedom to be able to capture those kind of surprise, serendipitous moments and then post whenever you want. In addition to this stuff, it should not be a limiter, but ironically, it should free you to be able to post more, because you'll spend less time thinking about these little things, and you'll be able to find more time to post to be open to observing things that you can post in addition to this. So if you're doing this system and then Kate happens to have just a fantastic gelato at Pronto, great. Post it whenever, that's just icing on the cake. But you're accomplishing your storytelling because you are getting all your brand attributes covered. Now you could theoretically do more brand attributes, and then that just means your cycle won't repeat until later. Sensory. This is all photo and video based. It's comprehensive because you're cycling through your brand attributes one after another and then repeating, because one person sees your history post on Monday the 19th, they may totally miss it on Monday the 2nd of November, but lucky for them, you're going to cycle back through it again. It is low cost because all the content we talked about are things that you or your staff can make on your smartphone. Now, it's certainly viable to hire photographers or videographers or find some other volunteers to help you create this content. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I do believe it is possible for us as small business owners to create just 2 pieces of content per week that will then be published 4 times. I found that to be doable for a lot of folks. And it's low time because you're using the same content twice. And that includes the caption. You're not reinventing the wheel every time. You're using the content bucket, so you're not having to go back and think every time about, oh man, what should I be posting? It's all right here in the spreadsheet for you. So, in conclusion, this is what I said earlier. Content marketing is authentic storytelling that engages the senses to tell the story of your brand, product, or service without always directly selling. The main tips is the telling your story in a comprehensive, consistent, sensory, and low-cost way. Because if it was high cost, you wouldn't want to do it. This is all about doing something that you could actually do. Then if you create a system, this spreadsheet is just one idea. There's there's calendars, there's project management tools, etc. But a spreadsheet at the end of the day, I thought was, most people know how to use a spreadsheet. But in any case, once you create the system, you can then strategically reuse content to lower the cost of production. And the creation of a system allows you to batch your time. So again, you can have your content creation time at a single, make it a meeting on your calendar, just a single part of your week where that's what you do. And then you won't have to worry about it anymore for the rest of that week. It is not having that extra thing on your to-do list is very freeing. I would mention that with the calendar, it's a way for you to be reminded that you should post that day, which technically that means you are posting on those days, but you're not doing anything creative. You're just doing it, what you've already created. So I think that makes it a lot easier. And this allows you to minimize those small decisions, so you're able to focus on those bigger and much more important ones. Any questions?
Hey, Jamie, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much. I don't have a specific question, but I love that you have mapped out just a plan that does not require decision-making on the spur of the moment, which sometimes trips us up. So super cool. And
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. If anyone has any questions, don't be bashful. Just the tip of the iceberg in terms of all the content marketing stuff. But the main thing today is if you systematize it, it can be a lot easier.
Jamie, I have a few more nitty-gritty questions.
Great.
For captions, is it better to put lots of, like, are people reading them? Is it better to put lots of info there? Should it kind of direct them somewhere else? Engaging them in comments? Like, should you be asking them questions, getting them to comment on the post?
Yeah, great question. So I have found that the way that people ingest these posts really varies. So you always want to lead with a short, enticing sentence or two. And then if you want to add more information, by all means, because some folks will actually read that. But it's just like in newspapers, like the lead is the most important thing. That should grab the attention. So that first line of the sentence, that's the most important. And after that, it all supplements it. Some people will read it, some people won't, but that's okay. In terms of asking for comments and engagement, yes, that does increase the chances that someone will do it. Now, obviously, it depends on the person and how apt they personally are to engage. It also depends on the content and whether they would want to engage. But just the mere fact of asking does make the likelihood go up. We've seen a lot of stats about that over the years. One thing I have found that works well on increasing your engagement on Facebook, for example, and on Instagram, I imagine. but especially on Facebook. So let's say you're posting about a product or you're posting about the Jingle Bell Run. Instead of just doing a single photo, do a collection of photos. That way, folks on Facebook or Instagram will scroll through and see all of them. And then on Facebook, on the additional photos, you can then add additional information for each photo. That dramatically increases the engagement rate because every time anyone clicks to see the next photo, that counts as an engagement. And then Facebook and Instagram in turn take that increased engagement and reward you with increased reach. So for example, for WNL, we do a regular photo album called Seen on Campus. And that one does by far the best because you have to click through 30 pictures to do the whole album. So for product photography, you can just get a few different angles of the product, just 2 or 3. That's great. For event promotion or business promotion, just get 2 or 3 photos, just batch them together as a single post. That can be great. So let's say you're featuring a Walkabout Outfitter. You have the exterior, you have an interior product shot, you have an interior staff shot, and there you go. That's your business feature for that day.
Hey, can we go back to some of the events? Because I've been told, this is Rebecca, I've been told that you need to limit the amount of images that you put in a post. What's your feeling about that?
Who's been telling you that? I get my first question.
There's some folks that say, they've been looking at data. It's like, oh, if you don't get someone's attention within the first 6 seconds and they've moved on, you don't want to give them too much content. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I have heard this. So I'm just curious. You just said Seen on Campus, 30 images. Wow. I love that, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
we've been told to limit it.
My thought is my recommendation is don't limit it other than quality. I mean, if it's a low quality, boring shot, don't include it.
Yeah.
But the more, like, for example, on Instagram, if you do a multi-photo post, then sometimes when I'm scrolling through Instagram, I'll see the same post multiple times just because Instagram will show me a different photo from that post.
Oh,
so that gives me 3 different opportunities to engage. Same with Facebook. Like every time you click through, you're going to click through. And it's, in a way, it's very similar to the words. Like you want to make sure the first one or 2 photos in the collection are the showstoppers, and then the less snazzy ones later on in order, because you want to get their attention immediately.
Right.
Yeah. The only disadvantage I see to posting multiple photos in a single post is that you're using a lot of content in one occasion. So it's just a matter of you'll have to make more content later. But if you can do that, then I say, yeah, there's no reason not to.
Good to know. I love that. Yeah. How about events? For instance, Main Street Lexington specifically, we have some engagement for our events. How do you feel about engaging opinions about the events that you've decided to do? Especially right now, we have, I don't want to say conflicting, but we do have polar views of, yes, you should do this, no, you shouldn't do this, and some safety concerns. So is it appropriate to engage your audience through social media for their opinions?
Great question. I've had a lot of very mixed experiences with trying to seek feedback solely on social media. At the end of the day, I think if you honestly want to know, you might as well ask. In terms of, to kind of zoom out for a second, so the Facebook algorithm is biased towards events. So Facebook, all else held equal, Facebook is more likely to share an event that you've made than a post that you've made. So events have that inherent advantage. However, I've been making Facebook events back in college, so for a long time now. Facebook events are almost never a good indication of actual attendance. They should not serve as an RSVP because it's just too easy to click. It's not intentional enough to get a really authentic, accurate gauge of how interested someone is. But I would say, yeah, always make an event. There's no reason not to. Just a little bit of extra time. In terms of seeking that feedback, I would say it's the multi-platform approach that's going to be the best. So you're going to put the poll on your event, maybe do a post or so. And for posts, I would say, hey, if you want to do this, just like this post. That way all you have to do is click like instead of any other option.
Right.
You can also do the same thing for Instagram, grid, or story. If you're saying, hey, we're thinking about doing trick-or-treating or whatever event, do you think we should like this post? And then the folks that don't want you to, they'll probably comment, And then there's also email. That's a great way to do it. And then there's a matter of just reaching out to like thought leaders, like the really important people. In the case of events, like city manager, your volunteers, your staff, those other key folks. And then once you have all that data, try to make the best call. Social media polling in general is not super scientific, so I would recommend just using all the channels at your disposal to try to find the best answer.
That's very helpful, and I appreciate that. Specifically, we just have a hard time engaging all of our businesses through email. So, we're trying to figure out if it's more effective to reach folks from the social media platforms. We're just trying to make sure that all of our businesses are engaged at some level and are aware of the decision making, because it's not done in a vacuum, obviously, but we don't necessarily always engage everyone. So we're just trying to figure out the best way to reach a broader community within our business district, and beyond that also the public at large, and just get a feel for what their views are on some of these things. And we just try to make the best decisions, but it's not always clear because we don't always engage as many people as we would hope to.
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly a challenge. A lot of these business owners, they're taking care of their business, and other communications like this are just not always the highest priority, no matter how important they are. One advantage of using social media to ask these questions, and you can even call out, hey, business owners, and then folks that are not business owners, but that would just be the attendees, they'll have a chance to voice their opinions as well, and maybe business owners will see that and kind of create a dialogue, and that could push a business owner to be more apt to say yes or no. That is a gamble because you don't know what they're going to say. But I see that working. It's really important to the business owners, and when they're at home and using their personal social media, when they see their neighbors call for or against something, they have a little bit of investment in that because we have that luxury living in a small town. So yeah, again, I see no reason not to shotgun that. By that I mean make the events, make multiple posts on multiple platforms, shoot emails, and that's really all. To what you said, that's the best you can do.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that viewpoint, and I think that's what we're just trying to engage as many business owners as possible, but also reach out to our community at large because they're equally important. And I understand business owners, they, especially right now, they have such a hard row and a fine line to walk, and we're just trying to support everybody. So thank you, Jamie, for your insights. And we just so appreciate the help, because we're all kind of spitballing right now, and this is super helpful to figure out like a plan and something that is not onerous as far as your time is concerned. So really appreciate you giving this seminar. Thank you so much.
Great. It's been my pleasure. And I really appreciate you all, Simon. If you have any questions, please don't be bashful.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
ShenandoahSmallBusiness.com. Reach out. We
Yep.
have a great partner. Again, thanks so much. And we will share this with our businesses and stay safe. We'll keep in touch. Oh, and Jamie has another webinar next Monday. Stay tuned.
Great. Take care,
Thanks.
everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jamie. Bye.